Welcome in Line by Line. And today, with Agent, we are analyzing an excellent song by U2 called Beautiful Day. Well, Agent, why did you pick that song?
Wow. This song has history. Let me think. Well, I used to work in a casino and I had a pretty bad midlife crisis at 30. Ended up with institutionalization in a mental hospital. You can feel free to please leave this in. Uh, and uh, and I got out. I had a midlife crisis, is what happened. I thought, oh my God, I'm 30. What have I done with my life? And and uh, I suddenly decided to. I was staying at my dad's, and I kind of wanted the adventure, right? So I applied for the cruise ships, and I packed all my shit into storage, and I went onto the ships. And as I was on this adventure, um, U2 released "It's a Beautiful Day," and it has like airport on the like this really well designed architectural airport designed on the CD, right? And it was like is about like traveling, right? It's like the heart is so like and it had this drum beat. It's like a heartbeat. So yeah, we talked about U2 in the underdog or maybe another one, and how like when Rattle and Hum came out, I remember watching that thinking that Bono would always look like he did in Rattle and Hum. And then Beautiful Day had resonance, and now he did Surrender. Surrender is like now Adam Clayton and the drummer has developed tinnitus, and so they aren't with him, but him and the Edge re-recorded a lot of their songs. Beautiful Day was one of the ones they recorded, and it was called Songs of Surrender. And now there's always the debate between submission and surrender that's heard with someone else in our corner of the internet, but we won't delve into that. But yeah, so this was one of the songs they redid, and they re-stripped them all down so that they were like more like acoustic and stuff with pianos and violins and stuff. And Bono wouldn't like use his high range. He was more kind of a crooning lounge singer stuff. So I watched the documentary Songs of Surrender. U2 has had different times of my life has had different resonance. When I moved from Edmonton to Calgary, I used to catch the bus to see my girlfriend. We were trying to have a long distance relationship. She was my first love, and I would listen to the Joshua Tree as I went through the prairies. And the Joshua Tree, like if you see in the cover of the album, it's like the desert and these kind of like crazy Joshua trees. And I would listen, and somehow the prairies of Alberta, like the flat farmlands, the straight highway, just watching like all the prairies go by, right, really resonated with me then. So lately, I've just suddenly gotten right back into Joshua Tree. It's one of those albums that I listen to so much that I don't listen to it very often, right? And because I almost burnt out on it, so I save it because So then so I've been listening to it, but I haven't been listening. The A side has a lot of really good songs, but the B side I've been listening to nonstop. And but anyways, that's another story. So the Joshua Tree was one album for that era of my life, from the transition that changed my life from moving from Edmonton to Calgary. And there was a change. That was when I, stopped doing martial arts and got into music, putting all my stuff in storage and going on the adventures. I broke with my girlfriend, lost my job, was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And then I thought, you know what? My stepbrother went to the ships and I was anxious. I wanted to go. And he's like, dude, just go, just do it. So I went. And as I was like traveling through airports, and the video for the song has in an airport, I would this song was there. And even on the ships, I bought a shitty guitar from a pawn shop in Vancouver, and was playing this song, right, and like stomping my foot so bad that one of the cabin mates came over and like, can you please stop in your foot? It's like driving me crazy. But so Beautiful Day has a highly resonance of like traveling, airports, going on the adventure and the hero's journey. And I almost didn't go, and I was so glad that I did. Like the people that I met on the ships, like I didn't know them for very long, but like yeah, really, it was an amazing. I worked with people from all over the world, so this is the setting that I experienced as I listened to that album.
That song means a lot to you. I can feel it. Meeting people, going on adventure, changing your life, stomping until somebody really complains. And I actually would like you to explain to people what does it mean side A and side B. I do know, but like
Yeah,
not
the new
everybody knows.
millennials, people on Spotify do not know that, right? Because
Mhm,
back in the day, you would buy records, and there was the A side, which usually had the
mhm,
hits, and or you made sure you had a good song on the A side, and then you flip it over, and you had the B side. And like an album like Joshua Tree has like is totally front
mhm.
loaded on the A side. The Police Synchronicity, all their hits are on. Maybe they're on the B side of that. I don't know, but anyways, someone could fact check that. But yeah, so like yeah, uh, but there is no A side or B side on All You Can Leave Behind because I was the era of CD, so I never listened to that one
Oh,
on vinyl. So, but on Joshua Tree, yeah, in tapes they had the A side and the B side because you have to flip
yeah,
the tape,
as
right?
well.
Yeah. So now that's not a thing anymore. But yeah, because like and maybe it was because people were just too lazy to flip the record over and they just put the needle back in the start.
I think there was like even this special machine that would flip the vinyl record for you,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And then CDs
You
changed
can.
that, but I think they still kind of organized it that way. And then they had
Mm.
CDs, one CD one and two. Some people would release double CDs, you
Oh
know.
yeah, in the spirit of a record.
Like so there's other albums that are like that for me, like the albums that are
Mhm.
like is pivotal, like the album All You Can't Leave Behind is not really an album like Joshua Tree for me. Like for me
Mhm.
Joshua Tree was like just like an album that I listened to death. Smashing Pumpkins Siamese Dream, I listened to that to death. And then Radiohead's OK Computer. Those are albums that I can't listen to that often because I listen to them so much that I don't want to ruin them. I take them out on special occasions. And suddenly, for some reason, and it's part U2 is always aligned with a spiritual journey. Like a lot of their music
Mhm.
has always like had a spiritual component to it for me. Like I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Where the streets have no name, you know, and yeah, like Sunday, Bloody Sunday. Yeah, anyways, so like here's me nerding out about YouTube. But the thing I want to mention is that on Surrender they released this album. They just released a documentary with David Letterman. And a lot of people don't think U2 are cool. Like I'm talking to my friend Thomas, he's a millennial. He doesn't get it because he didn't see Bono when he was young. He saw him when he was older. He was wearing sunglasses all the time. He's like, "What is up with Edge and that skull cap?" Because they didn't know. But the band now that would be comparable to U2 then was in Surrender, the documentary, and that is the band called the Fontaines. And the Fontaines are an Irish band, and they're pretty edgy, and they're alternative. Because when U2 came out, my first experience of U2 was not of them being bloated rock stars, what people may think they are now. My first experience was my only punk rock friend was wearing a U2 jacket, and he had it. And I'm like, oh, that's a edgy band. And then I heard New Year's Day, and I just love that song. And I got it confused with New Moon on Monday, which was a Duran Duran song, and I ended up getting totally into Duran Duran. That's another story. We won't, and the thing when people look back on U2 now too is they had really cool hair then, but the mullet has fallen out of fashion. So when people look back and see Duran Duran or U2 in their heyday, they go, "What's up with that hair?" you know. But I had the hockey hair. That's what we called it in Edmonton. We called it hockey hair. So
Oh
I think we
yeah,
talked about that on a previous video too, didn't we?
it's okay. It's a good story.
Anyway,
It can be said twice.
but yeah, so like if you want to know how cool U2 were, the Fontaines are as cool as U2 were in the early 80s. And yeah. And they were the first band to talk about political issues, and they always had a spirituality to the thing. But this song
Yeah.
resonated with my personal journey, not so much with my spiritual journey, but my personal journey as I like suddenly I saw all of a sudden I'm traveling and I throw my shit in storage, and here's this album with a video about like being in an
Hmm.
airport. I remember being in that airport in a reading Ayn Rand of all things, and listening to U2 and looking at the mountains in Salt Lake City, Utah. you know, and just the different airports. And you know, like that was part of the big travel thing. Like most people hate airports. Like you travel, you're bored, so you buy a book from the thing, and you know, and you have to wait for your plane, and then you're all stressed out because you got to make your next plane. That was part of the adventure of the ships too, as much as the scuba diving and the flirting with Romanian waitresses and that entire adventure that I ended up going on, right? So
Nice. Oh, life. It's like time travel as well. Hearing a song that you have so many memories associated with seems like time travel. Takes you
yeah,
places.
you know, that's really interesting because I like you we I mean anyone that knows our interactions, like I on temporary hiatus is secret radio and intimate transmission for your ears only. Um, each secret radio show I would make a CD, a mix CD. And I think that making mixed CDs, like you used to make mixed tapes, you know, I got fond memories of making a mixtape for a girlfriend that used to be like, you know, I talked to someone recently that talked about that. And he's like, that's really creepy that you made a tape. I like you so much. I listened to all these songs and put them on a tape. I'm like, dude, that wasn't creepy at all. Like, you have no understanding. But but so I taught my nieces the art of making a mixed CD. But so I have all these CDs of radio shows, and I was in moods, and each of them has a different name. And each of them, when I listen to them, all of a sudden I teleport about, oh, I remember when I made this CD. You know what I mean? Like, oh, but even if you don't make mixed CDs or mixtapes, like I think music has that power. Do you find that, Kara?
I definitely time traveling when I hear songs from the past that used to mean something to me back in the day. And I kind of get back into that emotional state right away. It's like feeling in my chest the heart from when I was 16, let's say.
Yeah.
Heartbeat the same.
Yeah, and it's so weird. I'm like 53 years old now, right? And here's the other story that I want to add to that. So like we mentioned this also before was the movie It's a Wonderful Life, right? So
Yeah.
I have two things, right? In It's a Wonderful Life, you have I can't remember his name. I think it was Bailey. Anyways, the protagonist, he wants to travel the world. He's getting out of that shit town and he's going to travel the world. And then just as he goes out of the world, suddenly his brother has to go, got married, and has a business offer. So he stays one more year to run the bank, and he stays one more year, until eventually he just spends his whole life in this town. And he's like, you know, I wish I was never born. And the angel Clarence takes him, so this is what would have happened if you had never existed. And like his brother, who was a war hero, like wouldn't have saved all those people, all these like amazing things because he had existed. And even though he didn't go travel the world, but I did go travel the world. So, but at the same time, like I always was touched by It's a Wonderful Life. Like, you know, every Christmas I'd stay at home and like watch It's a Wonderful Life, right? I mean, in black and white. It's the only way to watch it. But how does that map onto this? Well, I did leave. I did go on that adventure, and I came back. And the reason that I went on that adventure was I wanted to go to Vancouver Film School. So I was going to say I was torn between music because they all Vancouver Film School also had a thing about producing electronic music. So I wanted to do that. I thought, you know what? I'm going to either save up for music or I'm going to have all the gear. And then I thought, well, maybe I won't get into Vancouver because it's too expensive. And I don't know if I want to live in Vancouver. And then I thought, but if I actually had the gear, right? Like, then I can maybe learn how to do it myself. But you know, it's funny. So now I'm in this small town. I'm listening to this song. I'm thinking, like, would I want to travel? Do I want to stay here forever? But I have all the tools because now you don't need much tools to make a film or to make music or whatever, right? Like you and friends have made music over the internet, you know what I mean? You know, and like you produce videos and you've seen some of my like weird I'm learning film editing, and some of it's pretty rough on the Secret Radio channel. I have to admit, right? But it's like wow, like I'm learning to film edit just on my home computer setup that I saved up with money that and all this gear that I acquired, and here I have this apartment. And but yet a part of me still says, you know what? Given the chance for an adventure, would I pack it up and go away? But I don't know. Maybe you can have both. Maybe you can have a home base and still go on adventures.
Yeah. I mean, every day has a potential for a new discovery. I love your videos, by the way. I will provide the links below to the YouTube.
Some of them are better than others. I'm
Uh,
particularly fond of the ad one with the Close Encounters edits.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I'm quite fond of that. I also I wish that I don't mind the one with Say Anything. He's holding
Mhm.
the boot box up. Did you see that one?
Yes, yes, from Harry Met Sally. That
Yeah.
was adorable. That was adorable. I
Yeah.
like it. Like you have this kind of a way of inviting people into your worldview, and here is the adventure. Ah, I like it.
And so yeah, I guess we should start reading the song, right?
The heart is a bloom, shoots up through the stony ground, but there is no room, no space to rent in this town. So this whole stanza feels like it talks about wanting to get away. The heart is beating so fast. I want to get out. I want to shoot. I want to peer through all of those buildings everywhere. There is no room, no space to rent in this town. So he's both in the feelings and the practical kind of limitations that he has.
Mm. That resonates too. And for me also it resonates the fact that at that time I was staying in my dad's basement, right? With his,
Um,
like I didn't have a home. I was between homes. I was staying either at my mom's or my dad's, right? And there's no room, no space to rent in this town. You're out of luck, and the reason you had to care. The traffic is stuck and you're not moving anywhere. So in my experience, my journey at that time of my life, but I would like you to like relate it to the present as well. You're out of luck, and the reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck in. So it's like you're stuck someplace. You're in a point in your life, and like it's like, that I don't know if it was a crisis point, like, a midlife crisis is where I was at that time. It's like, I'm at this job, I hate this job. I didn't finish my education. I didn't become a doctor, and like, what the hell am I gonna do? Like, you know what I mean? And then, but that was the, but that said, we talked, like, why does someone pack all their stuff and leave and go somewhere? They don't do it because they're in utopia where they're at. They want some change or something, right? Like,
Absolutely true. Uh, the reason you had to care. Have you been caring for luck? I was thinking when the traffic is stuck, this means you cannot move also backwards. You're in the
yes,
middle and you have to wait until the traffic is, let's say, green again and you can move forward.
the heart as a bloom shoots up from the stony ground. Like I picture like a barren field after a drought or something, right? And this shoot is the first growth that comes. You know what I mean? Like, will the crops come back? Will the drought be over?
That's beautiful. So your heart wants the freedom. Your heart is alive. When you say my heart is alive, my heart is piercing through all of that. That's amazing. I like it. Stony
Yeah, you framed that
ground.
beautifully.
Mhm.
Mm.
I'm thinking about again the reason you had to care. You're out
Yeah,
of
I don't
luck
know.
and out of reasons to care.
Yeah, you're out of luck. Like, it's like there's no room in this town. You can't afford rent. You don't know how you're going to feed yourself. And you don't even know if you don't know the solution. You just know that you're stuck. Maybe you're stuck in a dead end job. Maybe you're stuck in a dead end relationship. Maybe you just lost your relationship. Maybe your wife left you. Like, you're stuck in something, right? Like, and you're in this crisis, but part of you is shooting up from the stony ground, right? So even though it says you're out of luck, the reason you had the traffic is stuck, it sounds like a bad thing. But do you think it's entirely desperate, or do you think there's hope in this stanza?
I think he's describing the situation that is very difficult, but also relatable to a lot of people. And then he will show a way out of it. So
Mm.
there is a reason, like in all the difficult situation and even stuckness, there is a potential for change. And so he talks about it, um, and there is hope
Yeah,
in it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And like you don't change, like you don't change when everything's easy. Or do you? I mean, you could sometimes maybe it's the best thing to have things not be easy. Because maybe if they were easy, you would just stay in
Hmm.
that thing that maybe you don't really want to be in, right?
Sometimes things make sense only afterwards. Sometimes
Hmm.
even in 10, 20 years. Oh, that's why it had to happen. Now I get it.
Yeah. You thought you'd found a friend to take you out of this place, someone you could lend a hand in return for grace. This is great, like
Mhm.
this this speaks of like, okay, maybe you're stuck, maybe you're in this situation and you're hurting and you're but then there's someone that you can lend a hand to in exchange for grace. This maps to something that's going on with me right now, right? I have a friend that is younger than me, and he reminds me a lot of where I was at that time of my life. And I feel like at times I'm lecturing, and I don't want to do that. But I feel that like if I can lend a hand in exchange for grace, I mean, you don't buy grace; grace is given to you. But you know what I mean? Like here's someone that's suffering, and yet what do they think of? They think of another person who's suffering more than them, or suffering as much as them. And they say, you know what? I'm going to lend a hand to this person. I'm going to lend some compassion, some words of encouragement. You know?
Yeah, help. I actually remember that friendship in these difficult times when you are stuck is actually like an open hand thing, and like a hand with we will get through it together. We will get through it
Yes.
together. You're not alone. And this is amazing feeling, like especially when you can trust that person. It's amazing. Like it's satisfying, and it's like making sense of the previous suffering somehow. Oh, it led to this moment. That's beautiful. Finally.
Yeah. Yeah, so this friend of mine is going through almost he's about middle age and he's going through a crisis, right? He's got unresolved trauma and stuff like that. And the funny thing is I thought I was helping him. And in him, and we talked about the princess before. Um, I wrote this song a long time ago when I was in this punk band. Like, around the same time, I kind of like, this is all part of the same couple years of like fucking midlife bullshit and like midlife. Like, apparently it wasn't even midlife because I might live till I'm 100, and technically I might be midlife now if I'm lucky. But but who knows? But yeah. So I thought I was helping him, and as I was talking about his story, all of a sudden, what he was going through paralleled something that I hadn't resolved in my past. So I went home and I rewrote this punk song that I wrote when I was younger, and I reframed it, and I was like, holy shit! Like I thought I was helping you, but that helped me. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not always we completely help others. We help ourselves as well during that time.
I mean, this is interesting too because like we're talking about surrender versus submission, and this is a debate with someone, and I try to think what it is. For some reason, I like surrender. I think surrender is a bigger spiritual concept, and the song is songs of surrender, right? And there's a difference between me going, "Here I am. I will help lift my hand, lift you up with my great wisdom." You know what I mean? Versus, man, like I know your pain. I know where you're at, and I'm there with you too. And I've been there. Like there's a difference. You know, I
There
don't know
is
how
a
to describe it. I
difference
don't.
with we will go through it together, then I know the way out of here. There is a difference. When you say we will go through it together, you both discover the way out of a difficult situation.
So this reminds me of another friend that passed away when I was a kid. Not when I was a kid, but that's another story. But um, like that passed away, and this person that I'm talking to, his father passed away, right? And but he's going, but around the same time. For me, it was a friend, the friend that got me into music, and that we had the many adventures on. And he wasn't always a good friend, but we were trying to save each other. But neither one of us had to be like his parents drank a lot. My parents were kind of like not there, and he was trying to go. He's going, well, you could live with us, and I'll help you. And I was like, and I always made sure he got home safe, right? And and yeah, so like my having gone through that experience allows me to relate to this other person's experience. It's just kind of funny how like sometimes like your experience, your suffering or whatever can give you enough wisdom to maybe lend a hand in exchange for grace. And you think that you're helping the other person out, but they may be helping you to resolve some stuff too, right?
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, the chorus. It's a beautiful day. The sky falls, and you feel like it's a beautiful day. Don't let it get away.
Yeah, this is amazing. And this reminds me of a memory. I was in Grand Cayman, and we take a tender from the ship to the island, right? And I was on taking the tender back, and I saw this fish jump out of the water with wings. And I was like, "Am I hallucinating? Because fish don't fly and they don't have fucking wings." But apparently in Grand Cayman they do. And like, there's so many days that were beautiful, like scuba diving. I remember one time this beautiful girl asked me to go scuba diving. Unfortunately, the captain was there, and you can't compete with the captain that looks like an Adonis Greek god, right? But like these are amazing times, right? Like, I remember like going to the far side of the island in Cozumel and having like because there's a touristy side with all the like really crappy margaritas, and then we went to the other side. We grabbed mopeds. We went to the other side. I had the most amazing guacamole I've ever had in my life, right? Just these subtle memories, and like I made this analogy. Maybe gamers would appreciate this because like gamers are a lot of the internet. It's like there are those moments in your life that are like save points. So you're like, I went through all this shit, but I got to this amazing moment. So I'll save this moment. I'll savor this moment because I would go back through all that shit just to get to this moment again. And those occasional moments you got to be present and you got to just go, thank you. You know,
Yeah, that actually resonates a lot. A day, a beautiful day is a day where you want to go back to.
or maybe not go back. You're just glad, it makes it worthwhile that like you
Ah,
maybe you wish that you hadn't gone through all that stuff, but if you hadn't gone through all that stuff, I wouldn't have had that guacamole on the other side of Cosmo. I wouldn't have like saw the flying fish. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have. And some of them aren't even mundane. Other side of the world. Like I live in a town that has the most. They in movie industry they call it magic hour, and they have these. They have this like the sky is purple and pink at because the way that the mountains capture the sun as the sun goes down. It's different than it is where I grew up in Alberta, right? But it's like wow, that one, and it's only like a small interval, like it's like a half an hour. And movie industry they'll wait and go to location just so they can capture that hour where the light is like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the perfect
so it's like,
moment.
yeah. I mean, you can't grab on like you can't try to grab onto the perfect moment, but you know what I mean? There is a danger there where you're trying to like always grab onto the perfect moment. But that's funny. Like as I live in this town, the weather is really good compared to where I grew up. The winters were brutal, like -30, right? And like here, it never gets that cold, right? And then people talk about oh, nice weather today. Oh, it's too windy, or it's too cold, or it's too warm, or it's too hot, or it's too rainy, or it's too cloudy. And I thought, how many perfect days are there? One, two perfect day where the temperature's just right, the wind's just right, and the sun's just right, and the sky's just right. And then I came to the conclusion they're all perfect days. They're all beautiful days. But yeah, it's a beautiful day. The sky falls. I don't know what the sky falls. I don't know what that would mean. And you feel like it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. Don't let it get away. I mean, these moments are precious, right? Like even this moment right now with you sharing the song and sharing these stories with you is precious to me.
When it was The Sky Falls, I thought of that painting. It looks like the sky is falling because the sky is touching the horizon.
Oh yeah.
So the reason the sky falls is because it's you can see so far that horizon is touching the sky. Yeah.
So that's interesting. I live in British Columbia now, right? And here there's lots of mountains. So like you never see the horizon. You're always in mountains. When I first came here, I felt like almost claustrophobic, right? People said, "Oh, I don't like the prairies. I feel so naked and not enclosed." But in the prairies, like I get it when I go home to the prairies and I come through the Rocky Mountains, and all of a sudden, oh, big sky. Finally, the big sky, right? And you see that horizon. You can see for miles. Like you go up on a mountain, like on the edge of the Rockies in Kananaskis, and you can see forever across the prairies, right? Like, and like you think that that's not scenic because it's just a bunch of grass and occasional trees and stuff, right? You know, there's a joke about the prairies in especially Saskatchewan. They're like, yeah, my dog ran away and I watched it go for 3 days.
Wow.
You're on the road, but you've got no destination. You're in the mud, in the maze of her imagination. You love this town, even if it doesn't ring true. You've been all over and it's been all over you. This resonates with my current experience, right? Like, I lived in Calgary less than I live here in this town. And yet I called myself a Calgarian for so long. I think that but you know what? I'll tell you another funny story.
Mhm.
When I first moved to this town, you'd ask for directions. And people would always, I shouldn't tell you this because this is a secret. You know, now you know who the locals are. So people you go, oh, how do I get here? Oh, it's where the old EAW used to be. I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to know where the old something used to be? I need to know where it is. And that's how I knew someone was. And then if you said that, then they'd be like, oh, you're not from around these parts, are you? But then I caught myself. One day I caught myself. They said, oh, how do I get to here? Oh, it's by where the old Cowboy Coffee used to be. And then it's like, oh, that's when I realized this is my home now. You know what I mean? I've become a local.
So, what do you do when the new people ask you how to get there?
Yeah, that's a question, right? I'd be
Just found
careful.
out the history of every place that used to be before that. That's how you like fit in. Like all the people who responded to you in the past, they just moved there a month before you, but they read the places.
Now everything's going to study the map. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, well, that's when this used to be back in the day. Shut out to all of those smart people. Uh, the maze of her
Yeah, that's interesting.
imagination.
It's funny is I always thought it was in your imagination, and I thought it was about how I was always stuck in my head, but you're in the maze of her imagination. So that could be maybe a relationship with a girl or something, like who knows, right? I have no idea. You're on the road, but you've got no destination. You know, that kind of
I
speaks to
think
lost, but
he
you're on the
talks
road, but
to. I actually think he talks about the friend he made. I made a friend. I can help her in exchange for grace. And I think he talks about that.
that's interesting. Yeah, there's a story there too, but we won't delve into it. Things are
Mm.
complicated. You're on the road, but you've got no destination. You're in the mud. So like it sounds like stuckness, but it sounds like he's still stuck, but he's on the road now. You know what? He's still stuck, but he's no longer stuck in. No, 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 no. Maybe he's not stuck. The traffic started to move a bit. You're on the road. He's gotten out of that. He's on the road. The traffic's still shit, but eventually he's going to be on the highway and he's going to get. He's on the. But he doesn't know where he's going. You know what I mean? Like I don't know where I'm going in my life. Like, do I want to stay here for the rest of my life? What am I going to do? Like, do I even have options? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like my friend that's going through this stuff. I'm like, dude, you're like 30 something years old. You got lots of time. But when I was 30, I thought it was the end. Man, I thought that was like, I thought my life was over. And now I'm 53. And I'm looking at Bono, who's older than me. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm. I think there was this actor who had his son when he was 64. Yeah, you know, that famous actor from Jurassic World,
oh,
also
really? I
flying
didn't know
over.
that. I know, didn't George Clooney have a child late in life too? And oh, no, you had late in
Yeah.
life. to tie it back, this is called a segue in the industry. Just thought it'd be David
Yeah,
Letterman.
so
David Letterman had a child late, like
I
very
mean,
late.
I actually think that you're never too old for anything.
Hmm.
It's all in the mindset. And 53, so perhaps in 9 years you will have a child. Who knows? You don't know where the road will take you. I
Yeah.
do feel like in here he's in love because he was like, I made a friend, and then he is like, it's a beautiful day, ta, ta, ta. And you, even though you're in the mud, but in the maze of her imagination,
You
you
know, that's
love
interesting
this
too.
town. Like he
But that's
feels
also
it.
interesting too. Like that makes the nod no destination make more sense. Because when you choose to be with
Mhm.
somebody, you don't know where that's gonna go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like a gamble. And I've always been reluctant to make that
Mhm.
commitment. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's a risk too, right? Like I don't know where we're gonna go together, like, where this relationship's gonna take us. I don't know what the destination is, but we're traveling together. I don't know. But I don't think
Adventure.
he's there yet.
I'm thinking about you love this town if it doesn't ring
Oh
true.
yeah, I complain about this town all the time. I make fun of it, but I make fun of it in like I call it Springfield. Do I call it Springfield? Like when I first moved here, it was a lot smaller too, right? It's kind of booming a little bit now. So anyone who wants investment opportunities, Vancouver is going to sink into the ocean, and Kamloops will be prime property. just a tip. So there, no, just joking. I shouldn't say that. The locals will hate me. They'll be like, "We had a great town," and then all you like people that didn't know where things used to be came in and ruined it for us. No, but seriously, so it has a pulp mill on the river, which is just kind of like the nuclear power plant, and it has all these characters. Like I take the bus, we have an Elvis impersonator that looks like Elvis that goes everywhere. We have a rhinestone cowboy, like this guy that drives a van that has rhinestones on it. He dresses like a country 70s rhinestone cowboy. There's all these characters that are in this town. And then people probably talk about this character that rides the bus and wears a Star Wars cap and has a scowl on his face all the time. I don't know who that guy is. But
He's local celebrity now. Now people in Poland
yeah.
know him.
So you love this town even if it doesn't ring true. That relates to my experience because like I think like would I want to just pack everything? I'm kind of fond of my, we'll use a secret radio term just because it's a quasi-fictional art narrative. Base of operations, like I have all my shit here, it's in storage. Even when I first moved here, like my stepmom was like, get your stuff out of Calgary, out of storage, like have your stuff around you again. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? Like, because like for the longest time, I was just like living with a bed and a PlayStation and barely a guitar or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and now I have my keyboard set up and my computer. But yeah, not that I wouldn't mind traveling. That'd be fun. But yeah, should we go on? You've been all over and it's been all over you. That kind of reminds me of like you've been all over, so you've traveled, you've experienced, but at the same time, those experiences came with a cost. They weren't all good experiences, maybe. I don't know. What would you say that? Like,
I think even bad experiences are also adventures,
so I'm
even the
gonna I'm
bad
gonna
one.
also reveal another little tidbit about me. I don't know what to think about tattoos. When I was in Mexico, I almost got a tattoos, and I almost got the tattoos of the I Ching. One was the three lines and the three broken lines on either arm. And I thought, well, the I Ching is always changing, so then I'll be stuck in that one pattern. And I thought of that with tattoos too. Like I thought, you get a pattern. Like I remember meeting this guy that had a Wu Tang tattoo, and I'm like, oh, that's like I didn't know what Wu Tang was, but I'm like, oh, that's a cool Asian looking tattoo. What's that? He's like, Wu Tang. I was really into him when I was younger. And then I remember another guy I saw at A&W, and he had the Buddha on him, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. A Buddha. Are you interested in the Dharma? He's like, I was drunk. So I always thought. So I'm kind of glad I didn't get those tattoos But you know what I like? Scars. Scars tell you where you've been. And on my hand, I went on the scuba dive with that attractive girl, and she was at the cabin, and I almost died twice. My dive master must have been like, "I hate my life. Why do I deal with these people?" Because the first dive, I ran out of oxygen, and I panicked, and I held my breath, and I shot to the surface. He had to take me down. I should have had the bends and died. And the next dive, we were in a shipwreck, and I caught the shipwreck. And my hand grabbed onto the door, and now most shipwrecks aren't like full, they salvage them for metal, so there's a lot of sharp edges. And my hand split open. And I looked at my hand, and it was bubbling, and the oxygen was bubbling out of my hand, and it looked green in the water. And so I have a scar on my hand from scuba diving. So like it's been all over. It's been all over you. So I have scars. A couple in different places.
Wow.
So quite often I'll look at my scar. I'll be like and like we're talking about Mel Gibson, right? In one of the Lethal Weapon movie, he finally meets this girl, and she's like, they're all excited to show each other their scars, right? So yeah, now girls are into tattoos. I don't know what to think about tattoos, to be honest.
I'm not into tattoos. Never were.
Touch me, take me to that other place. Teach me, I know I'm not a hopeless case. See the world in green and blue. See, this is the traveling part that I wonder about. See China right in front of you. See the canyons broken by cloud. See the tuna fleets clearing the sea out. See the Bedouin fires at night. See the oil fields at first light. See the bird with a leaf in her mouth. After the flood, all the colors came out. Now, the first thing that's salient for me in a lot of U2's music is that they always have these like kind of maybe not so subtle, maybe subtle. Like they're not a Christian band, but ironically, a lot of bands that are called Christian bands really rip off U2 a lot. It's the joke that me and Billy Corgan tell, where like, if Christian bands are so innovative, why do they all sound like U2? But like, see the bird with the leaf in her mouth. After the flood, all the colors came out. That's like peace. But like this adventure, like this world adventure, see China right in front of you. See the canyons broken by clouds. I imagine like the Grand Canyon. See the tuna fleets clearing the sea out. That reminds me when I was on the ship and I see all the sea traffic, right? See the Bedouin fires at night. What are Bedouins? They're like are they Arabs? Like the with the I don't
I
know.
think the people who are navigating through a desert on camels,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
desert people,
See the oil
Bedouins.
fields. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See the oil fields at first light. And then he has this like biblical almost see the bird with the leaf in her mouth. That reminds me of like, the Noah, the bird, they're like, what is the flood over? Like, and then the bird comes back with the leaf in its mouth saying, yeah, there's land, right? Like the flood is going away. And after the flood, all the colors came out. No idea what that means. Reminds me of Jacob's coat of many colors with Jacob or I can't remember.
I was thinking it's actually does sound like Christian music because he's like touch me, take me to that other place. But I also remember before that he talked about grace as well.
Yes.
And like he
And
needs that.
surrender. To
Exactly.
me, to me, submission is a Muslim term and surrender is a Christian term. But maybe that's just me.
I never thought about that. Um,
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's entirely true because I do know some Christian like submission is a spiritual concept. It's not one that I understand. But that's just because I do martial arts and I don't like being submitted.
I never actually contemplated about the difference or the thing that I would choose. I do
But anyways,
relate to his desire for the grace and for the change. And he's like he wants that thing to take over. And I guess it's surrender to the grace and to the power, and then go and travel the world and see the things and see the bird with the branch leaves and in the mouth. Um, the colors
yeah.
came out.
I mean, this really relates to me. Like, I've always wanted to see China. I always wanted to go to Japan. Um, China is really interesting to me. Like the history, like one of the oldest cultures of the world, right? Although we won't talk about the current situation in China. See the canyons broken by clouds. See the yeah. It just like he has all these places in different parts of the world that he sees, right? And this both maps onto like still a desire for me to see more of the world, but it also makes me remember like, okay, I didn't see these exact same things, but if I wrote the song, maybe about flying fish in Grand Cayman or walking the streets in the French Quarter of New Orleans every week. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Or like seeing Salt Lake City, Utah, the city that the SLC Punk took place in. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Hashtag movie SLC Punk. Check it out. Good move. Good flick.
Check it out.
Don't be a poser. Hashtag poser. Anyways, too much
Great
reference. We'll
movies.
do. We'll talk about later. So yeah, what do you think, Kara?
I think it's freedom. Again, he wants out of the enclosed spaces. Like the beginning seemed really claustrophobic. My heart
Mm.
shoots out. I want to out of the traffic. And then I had a friend, which was the first good news, and felt like that was an inspiration for a beautiful day and hope, and the hope into freedom and going to everywhere and experience that vastness, let's say.
And so you mentioned the word there.
Mhm.
You know what my first ship's name was? The Inspiration.
Oh,
And
nice.
you know what my second ship's name was? The Spirit.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. And like each ship has a different characteristic, right? Like the Inspiration had like this kind of interesting architecture. Like after I had this tattoo thing, I remember sitting and I would draw like parts of the ship out. Um, Touch me, take me to that other place, reach me. I know I'm not a hopeless case. This is a line I really like. What you don't have, you don't need it now. What you don't know, you can feel it somehow. What you don't have, you don't need it now. You don't need it now. You don't need it now. Beautiful day. So when I first went on the ships, when I went on this journey, I thought I needed all this stuff, right? Like I thought I needed to go to film school. I needed to buy all this equipment. And now it's like, no, what you don't have, you don't need it now. Like, you'll be provided for. You like even you, like you don't have like an amazing computer studio. You aren't part of a television corporation or something. You're creating line by line and all these brilliant channel, like line by line and food for thought and nonviolent communication. You're doing it with
Yeah.
what you have, with the resources that you have, right? And now technology has allowed the creators to do that, which is amazing, right? So what you have, you don't need it now. What you don't know, this is also really interesting. What you don't know, you can feel it somehow. He doesn't say you can think it somehow. He doesn't say that you can figure it out somehow. He says you can feel it somehow, which speaks to me of being embodied, right?
Yeah. I love that. Like that entire last stanza summarizes the song really well. What you
And touch me,
don't
take me to that other
have.
place. Reach me, I'm not a hopeless case. That is because at times like I feel that like I just got too broken in a certain part of my life. And like there's that brokenness that still exists, right? Like, you know what I mean? And I guess that's where like, I have real compassion for other people who are broken, right? Like, you know what I mean? And you think that you think, hey, I'm broken, I'll reach out and help this broken person, but in a sense they're helping you too, right? So helping you too.
Yeah. Me too. You too. Uh, I think it sounds like a prayer and intention at the same time. Like when we say a prayer, when we word things we would like to have, uh, we are setting up the goal that we're aiming at. I like it. That
Yeah.
part, what you don't have, you don't need it now. It made me think about you having things in storage and keeping it in storage. You don't have it at hand, but that's because you don't need it.
Oh, that's true. At that time I needed to go on that journey, right? And now
Yeah.
I have it. Now I'm in a different place. Now I'm in this, it's out of storage. It's sitting there and I get to admire it and look at it as I go to work every day. No, bad joke.
Mm. I like it how he repeats it many times. You don't need it now. You don't need it now. It's a beautiful day. It's like the beautiful day is the only thing you need,
Yeah,
actually.
and so often we think, oh, if only I had that next car. Like for instance, now I think I need a new keyboard, right? I'm like, oh, I do music. All I need is one more. But like, I said this before. I said all I need is a bass guitar. And then I said all I need is before that I said all I need is reason. And then I said all I need is a analog modeling synthesizer. And then now I'm saying all I need is an 88 note keyboard. You know what I mean? Like, no, use what you got. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you and Franz do music, and like, his setup's pretty modest, and he does incredible stuff with it. You both have done brilliant stuff with it. Hashtag Kara Nodrik's. uh,
Shout out. Yeah. Uh, Again, what you don't know, but you feel it somehow. You can feel it somehow. And he's happy in that song. I feel it somehow. It's a beautiful day.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it kind of speaks to me of grace, like, but from a higher power, a higher frame. Like, I'm not gonna impose my spiritual beliefs on anyone else, although they're kind of like, a mixed bag of things. But we won't delve into my personal theology. Touch me, take me. It speaks to me of like, there's a plan for you and everything that you went through. Like this, that's what a lot of this song. Like, if I was to sum it up, I'd be like, you're going through a tough time, and this is teaching you lessons, and it's tempering you, and what you don't have, you don't need it now. You think, oh, if only I had a wife, if only I was a doctor, if only I was this, that, the other, and then everything would be perfect. But you know what? While you're chasing all these things, you're missing out on the beautiful day, right? Like,
That's an excellent summary of the song. Thank you so much, Agent. So, people, please enjoy the gifts of our sponsor, Free Time, which is also a sponsor of Beautiful Day. And check out the links below how you can support Agent and his YouTube channel. And bye.
where are the Mormons from? Is it Utah? No. Anyways, I can't remember. Yeah, someone could fact check that too. The major city that the Mormon place is, the setting for the movie SLC Punk, throwing all kinds of references, which is like the best punk rock movie, one of the best punk rock movies. But the heart is a bloom, shoots up through the stony ground. So maybe I'll just leave it at that.